Welcome to a demo on enhancement framework. In this demo we are going to see the source code enhancement, both the explicit as well as implicit source code enhancement, and how to define the enhancements part as well as implement the enhancement. First of all, we will act as the core developer and then provide the spot for so that the subsequent customers or the industry solution developer can implement it. It's a very simple report. It just accesses this S-flight table and then prints out the results that is fetched into this internal table ITAB. So let me execute this, and it displays all the flight information: American Airlines, Delta, blah blah blah, Lufthansa, QF, and all the flight details. Now what we are going to do is to define an explicit enhancement spot right here in the form of enhancement section. So for that we are going to highlight this and right click, get to the context menu, enhancements, create. And since we selected a bunch of statements, it automatically recognizes this as an enhancement section definition. That's what we are going to create now. And let's give a name for the enhancement section, and it's going to be a code, not the data declaration, not static but only the code. And we are going to define an enhancement spot. Since it already exists, I'm going to choose this. If not, we can create a new enhancement spot right here. And so the select statement has been placed within the enhancement section and end enhancement section block. Now the subsequent industry solution developer or even the customers will be able to implement this. So let me activate this, and I'm going to get out. Now as a customer, I'm going to get into this report in the display mode, and now we will see how to implement this enhancement section. For that, we need to first of all go into the change enhancement mode, which is by clicking on this spiral icon. And once we do that, we will be able to right click and get to the context menu on this line enhancement section and go to the enhancement implementation, create. And if you already have an enhancement implementation, that shows up. If not, you can create a new enhancement implementation. And once you create an enhancement implementation, it basically copies the code within the enhancement section into this enhancement and end enhancement code block, and you will be able to enhance this select statement. By what we are going to do here is add a new where class called carrier ID equals LH, which means I want to select only the Lufthansa flights. So let me activate the enhancement implementation. So the enhancement option that we created is a transportable object. Alright, so now intermediate result. Let's execute the report and check it out. Now you can see only the Lufthansa flights are displayed. Okay, that's how we can define an explicit enhancement section as well as implement that enhancement section. Now we will see how to make use of the implicit enhancement options. For that, we are already in change enhancement mode, and now we are going to go to edit, enhancement operations, show implicit enhancement options. Once we do that, we can see a bunch of comment lines like this, and as you know, at predefined points we would have automatically available positions for you to implement the implicit enhancements. So for example, here at the beginning of the form, end of the form, and if you go to the top, there is a begin of, end of, which means this is a structure. So at the end of structure you will be able to add your own fields, and we have already seen the form So similarly for all the forms this is available, and at the end of any include or at the end of any executable program, for example in this case it's a report, you will be able to add your own code. So now what we are going to do is let's add a new line right here at the end, let's say right here at the end of the form, right after the select statement. So position the cursor here, right click and go to enhancement implementation create. Now this is an implicit enhancement implementation. Now we are going to add new code. So I choose the code. Now what we are going to do is add a write statement. Write total number of flights selected is SciDB count. Alright, so let's activate this enhancement and execute it. Now as you can see, this statement, this line in the list output list, total number of flights selected 82, that was added by us as an enhancement to this report by not modifying the report but adding new code as part of the enhancement implementation. So this demo clearly showed how to define enhancements as well as implement the enhancement. Welcome to a demo on enhancement framework. Now what we are going to see here is the function group enhancement, how to enhance a function module by using the new enhancement framework. This is no modification but to enhance the existing BAPI or a function module. Now this function module BAPI flight get list, it basically gets a list of flights and then returns the flight details. Now let's execute it and check what it does. Basically it returns 405 flight details. Now what we are going to do here is to enhance this function module, to add an export statement right here, and that's going to return the total number of flights returned in this table, which is flight underscore list table. Okay, for that what we're going to do is to get into the change enhancement mode by going to the enhance interface option under function module. When you do that, we have to first create an implementation. We can give an implementation name as well as a short text. And optionally associate this to a composite enhancement implementation. And you can assign this to a package. I'm going to save this as a local object. And once you do that, it opens up all the parameter lines. So now you will be able to add new import parameters, export parameters, changing tables, blah blah blah. Of course you will not be able to change an existing parameter, but you will be able to add new parameters, but there is a restriction. You can only add, if you're adding an import parameter, you can only add optional parameters. Now since we are going to add an export parameter, we don't have to worry about that, and I'm going to call this as flight count, and it's going to be a type I, and since it's a BAPI, which is remotely callable, it's a pass by value parameter. And I'm going to save this and activate it, and it's a enhancement options, which is transportable object. Now once I have now enhanced the function module and added the new export parameter, but we have to pass the value to this parameter. How are we going to do that? I'm going to use implicit source code enhancement for that. So I'm going to get into the spiral mode, which is change enhancement option, and I'm going to go to the edit enhancement operations, show me all the implicit enhancement options, And once I do that, it's going to show a bunch of comment lines right here like this. And I know that at certain strategic places I can add my own code without modifying the source code. So at the end of the function module, I can add my code. So what I'm going to do is right click and enhancement implementation, create, choose the type of the enhancement. It's going to be code, and let's give a name to it. Enhancement implementation for function group demo, and I'm not going to assign this to a composite implementation, and I'm going to save this as a local object. Now what I can do is to describe the table, which is a flight list table. Describe table, the flight list, and I can count the number of lines into the O flight count, just to make sure. That's the name of the parameter that we created here, O underscore flight underscore count. And so it is going to describe this flight underscore list table and get the total number of lines into this variable, which is basically an export parameter. So save, activate it. We are activating the enhancement option, and let's execute it. Now you can once you execute this function module, you can see a new export parameter called oFlightCount, which contains the total number of records returned in this flight underscore list table, which is 405. So now you understand how easy it is to enhance an existing function module by to enhance it by using the function group enhancement. And we took this BAPI, and you understand how complex it is to clone a BAPI in order to add new parameters. But using the standard enhancement framework, we did it with no difficulty. So now you would understand how easy it is to and how effective the function group enhancement is. Welcome to a demo on enhancement framework. What we are going to see here is how to enhance a global class or interface. For that, we have chosen this class, CLGUI Frontend Services. Now there are different ways to enhance a class. We can add a new method, or we can add a new parameter to an existing method, or we can even add insert a pre-method or a post method or override method. And these methods would be automatically invoked whenever the standard method to which these pre, post or override methods are added. So first of all, let's add a new method by enhancing this class. For that, we need to go to the menu, class, enhance, and first of all we have to create an enhancement implementation. And optionally we can associate this to a composite enhancement implementation. I'm going to save this as a local object. And once you do that, if you scroll down to the end of the method list, you can see all these lines are opened up for you to add new methods. So I'm going to call this as get OS attributes extended, and it's going to be a static public method. So this is how you can add new method. I'm going to double click, and you can add code. Let's save it. And if you want to add parameters, you can position the cursor on that method, the newly added method, and then click on parameters, and you can add whatever parameters you want. So let's activate it. And as you can see, the enhancement option is a transportable object. Alright, now let's see how to add a new parameter to an existing method. For that, we are going to choose this method, the execute method. Click on the parameters, and since we are already in enhance class option, you can add new optional parameters right here. I'm going to call this as new param 1. It's going to be an importing parameter, pass by value. I'm going to define this as optional, have to, and the type of this parameter is string. And as you can see, you will be able to see to which enhancement implementation this parameter has been assigned to. So let's save it and activate it. Now let's see how to add a new, insert a pre, post, or overwrite method. For that, position the cursor on the execute method, and before that we need to get into the class enhance option, and position the cursor on this method to which you want to insert the pre, post, or overwrite method. Go to the menu path, edit, enhancement operation, insert pre method, and as you can notice here, there are 3 columns: pre-exit, post-exit, and overwrite exit. And you can see a new icon right here, and that indicates that the pre-exit exists for this method. So click on this icon, and you will be able to navigate to a local class where you can add the code for this pre-exit. And as you can see here, it's a local class, and the name of the class is LCL, and then the actual implementation name that you gave. And here is the method. It's a pre method to the execute method. You can add your code right here. So whatever code you add here will be executed first whenever this execute method is called. Similarly, you can also insert, post, as well as overwrite exit. So that's the end of it. To summarize, using the enhancement framework to enhance a global class, you can add new methods or parameters to an existing method, or you will be able to insert pre, post, or override methods for an existing method. Welcome to a demo on switch framework. We are going to look at all the important transactions related to switch framework, and also I will show you a short demo on how switch framework works in conjunction with the enhancement framework. So let's first take a look at the transaction SFW1, which basically lists all the switches available in the system. And this here is a list of all the switches in the system, and the global status, whether the switch is on or off globally, and the short description and some details about who created it or last changed by and things like that. And if you want to take a look at the details of a specific switch, for example the SFW switch underscore 2, you can either view the details or you can even change the details. So let's view the details. When you click on it, you get the details of this switch at the bottom of the screen. Here you can find all the packages assigned to this switch, or the GUI or DINPro related items which are directly assigned to the switch, the area menus, the maintain views and clusters and IMG nodes, and all these options which are directly can be assigned to this particular switch. And more importantly, what are the business functions to which this particular switch is assigned. That list of all the business functions to which this switch is assigned is also can be viewed here. And you can change these details by clicking on this change selected switch icon. So let's go to the next transaction, SFW2. The transactions are easy to remember. Switch framework 1 is for SFW1 is for maintaining the switches. SFW2 is for maintaining the business functions. Each business function can contain one or more switches. So the UI is very similar. You can view the details or change the business function details. So if you click on the details icon, you get the details at the bottom of the screen. Here you can find all the switches assigned to this selected business function, and you can also exclude some of the switches for this business function, and more importantly you can find the business function sets to which this business function is associated. Okay, and the next transaction is SFW3, which is the maintenance transaction for the business function set. Business function set can be compared to a single industry solution, and let's choose this business function set and click on details. Each business function set contains one or more business functions right here, and similarly all the details are displayed here. Here is where you can create new business function set and assign business functions to it. And finally, the most important transaction, SFW5, and this is where you can activate a single business function set for the entire system, and also individually you can manage the status of the business functions under that. What you have to know is, once you activate a business function set, or once you turn on a single business function, there is no turning back. Once you have done that, you cannot undo it. And another important point is the activate button. Whenever you activate anything in these transactions, SFW1, 2, 3 or 5, it basically submits a job to activate the related objects. Okay, let's take a look at short demo of the switch framework. For that, I've created this very simple report. It basically has a single line, a write statement. This program demonstrates switch activation. Other than that, I also have an implicit enhancement implementation. So let's execute the report and see what happens. It only displays the first write statement. It does not display the second write statement. Let's find out why. This enhancement, for some reason, is not getting executed. That's because the implementation is assigned to a package called test Venky package 1, which is assigned to a switch, and that switch, the status of that switch is not active, or the global status is off. So for that, let's go to SFW1 and take a look at that switch, which is Z Venky switch 1. So I'm going to go to the details, and here As you can see, the global status of the switch is off, and here you can check that the package test Venky package 1 is assigned to this switch. But let's look at the business function by clicking on this tab. The business function, there is basically no business function to which this switch is assigned, and that's why this switch is the status of global status of the switch is off. So what we are going to do is add this switch or associate this switch to a business function which is already active. So let's go to SFW2. We can do this association right here in SFW2, and I know that this business function is active, which we just saw in SFW5 transaction. So I'm going to go to the change mode, and I'm going to add a new association, that is associating this switch, which is Venky switch 1, to this business function that is already active. Okay, so let's save it and activate. As I mentioned, it is going to submit a job. Alright, so the job, it's a very simple job, so by this time it should be done, otherwise you can go to SM37 and check the status. And I'm going to get out of this transaction SFW1, and then we will check the status here. So I'm going to get out of this transaction and then invoke it again, SFW1, and now if you check the status is on. So let's go back to the report and run the report and see what happens. Since the enhancement implementation is now active through the switch, the second statement is also getting executed. So to summarize, we have transactions SFW1 for maintaining the switch, SFW2 for maintaining the business function, SFW3 for maintaining the business function set, and finally the more important transaction SFW5 for activating a single business function set in your system and also setting the status of turning individual business functions on or leaving it off. And finally, we also saw a quick demo on how the new switch framework works in conjunction with enhancement framework. Thanks a lot for listening to this demo.